Well, hello and welcome to the Internal Mobility Podcast, where we explore all of the ways for you to reach your potential here at Randstad while also making this giant company a little easier to know and understand. Today, as the mom of two working age women, I am very excited to have a female executive leading a STEM business unit, the president of Randstad Engineering, Angie Keller. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Well, thanks for having me.
So you grew your way into the president role, correct?
I did. I started out in Houston, Texas. We were a really small branch, just a few people. I was brand new to Randstad, and that branch was brand new to Randstad Engineering as well. And then was able to kind of just expand from one branch to a couple branches, and then flipped back and forth between sales and delivery before I ended up being over both sales and delivery.
So it's one of those classic stories we keep hearing from our executive team, like trusted with little, trusted with much, that you did a great job and you just kept taking on more. And you've recently taken on something pretty big on a global scale. You're actually responsible for our products now globally with regards to perm. Like, how did that happen?
This was like a really exciting, like, if you listen sometimes to what people tell you to do, good things happen. So we talk a lot about great conversations at Randstad. And one of the things that I made sure that I was intentional about this year was really like kind of taking overall control of my career and being mindful of me scheduling my great conversations before my leader had to. So during one of those great conversations with my boss, Greg Pagliari, I mentioned that one of the areas I was really interested in learning more about or seeing how I can make an impact is how we're moving some things globally. And I was worried that I didn't have that experience. So because of his experience on North American leadership team, he knew that this opportunity was coming up and recommended me for it. So that was really great, that all it took was just bringing it up and good timing. So really exciting. I'm responsible for direct hire for Canada, US, and the United Kingdom. So good stuff there.
So I heard a couple of things that I hope everybody else heard too. One, like, own your development and don't depend on somebody else to schedule the meeting or pull out of you what you want. Basically, you had a desire to go global. You sit down with your boss, who then knew of that desire and connected you to the right opportunities. That's the way it's intended to work. It's interesting, on Randstad in Touch, we have that question that, ask, have you had a recent great conversation? And I always scratch my head that ever comes back at less than 10, because it feels to me like schedule one, like just get it on the books, right?
Exactly. And it wouldn't have been up to my boss to say, hey, what you should do next is take a global role. It was really like, I'm interested in doing something more globally. What can I do to sharpen my skills to get there? What are the opportunities, and connecting the dots there and being willing to get, some feedback from your leader too. Like, here's where I think you need to work to bridge whatever gap to take that next role. Okay, so let's work on that. And, really taking ownership and accountability for your own development, because like leaders don't necessarily know what's next for you. It's like, well, what do you want to be next for you? And that's what's key.
And if you don't vocalize it, right, you're really just waiting on a hole to develop somewhere and somebody to tap you and say over, like, why would you ever give that kind of control over your future to somebody else?
I agree.
And because you chose a different path, you're affecting our products around the world. It's just a beautiful, happy story.
Yes.
So somebody listening to us right now wants to grow, maybe even into a president role for one of our business units. If you had to give them only one piece of advice, what would it be?
Well, I'm going to cheat because I'm going to say kind of two. So the first thing is be really good at what you're doing, or thinking about like, this is I'm the right person for this company, but I'm in the wrong seat. But like whatever task you are doing, whatever role you're assigned to, make sure you're being great. So you're calling a candidate, I'm going to be great on this phone call. Also, be willing to raise your hand to take on more sometimes. So if you're interested in leading people, maybe just offer to run a team meeting when your leader's gone. That doesn't mean like you have to wait until you're a leader to run a meeting or do some of the functions. So like volunteer to take on more, but people give more responsibility to those that are doing good with what they already have. So the first step is mastering that first role. And like, once you're really good at what you're doing, like continue just to take on a little bit more until you get that next role that you want.
Excellent. I love the way you brought it down to an individual phone call. Like if you're really, there's that saying, the way you do anything is the way you do everything. Like the idea that like this next meeting, this next phone call, like I'm going to be excellent at whatever task is put in front of me. And that's how I develop the expertise in order to create the future that I want.
Exactly.
That's beautiful. So Angie, what's your favorite human forward moment of the last couple of weeks?
Oh, I'm glad you asked this question because sometimes I hear people use the term human forward and they use it in the wrong way. So human forward is combining the power of technology with the human touch. And I just had like some great experiences this week with the latest Randstad In Touch survey. So because of our partner Workday, who runs our Randstad In Touch surveys, we are able to use their technology to reach all of our teams and like really understand what they're going through, what they're experiencing. And then based on that feedback, we can act and we can set up conversations. So I was going through the Randstad Engineering, Randstad In Touch surveys. And it's like, simple things that maybe you wouldn't be able to help people with unless you were sitting next to them on a branch visit. But we've got people all over the US and, someone was having some issues getting submittals and we were able to set up a time to talk to work through that. Other simple things like, hey, I'm having trouble with my jabber. Okay, let's set up some time and work through that. But like that technology enabled those conversations and enabled just like some one-on-ones with me that I wouldn't have known about the challenges or been able to help with had we not sent out that survey. So that's my human forward moment from this past week.
Well, Bob Lopes is going to love that you referenced Randstad In Touch, and specifically the fact that you're using it to create actionable realities for your people. I'm not surprised to hear that from you at all. But I'm always curious as to why we don't have 100% participation, right? When you don't give your feedback, you're literally letting somebody else decide like what we continue to do around here, like what we fix around here, where we put the energy. Like you're leaving that up to other people when you don't give your feedback. And when you do, you get to sit down with Angie Keller and resolve an actual friction point in your day to day. Like everybody should take the survey.
I agree with you because it's like, if we don't know, like if no one's telling us that we're doing something, not that like I'm saying, oh, get on Randstad In Touch and tell us everything that we're doing wrong. We also like to hear what we're doing right. But if we hear nothing, we don't know and no change will happen. So I really want to know, okay, well, what do we need to do more of that you really like that is going well? Or where do we need to make some pivots? Or how can I help you solve something as simple as, other things like, oh, my monitor doesn't work. Well, we can help that. Like you should have told your manager too, but provide us that feedback. And a lot of times this is with people who are really new to the organization and I haven't had the opportunity to meet them yet. So then I get to have one-on-ones with those folks before I go and visit their branch or visit whatever city they're living in, which I think is great.
Yeah, I think it's great too. Angie, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome.